Let's talk about Ryan Walters. He's the superintendent of public instruction in Oklahoma. We've talked about him many times before. He's kind of one of those guys who just keeps failing upwards, doesn't know anything, but he's Christian. So he just gets higher and higher in Oklahoma politics. And now he runs the public schools, and he's using that as a playground for him to spread his own version of Christianity. But he's had kind of a rough couple of months now, because in the past few months, the Oklahoma Supreme Court shut down his taxpayer-funded Catholic charter school that he wanted. They declared that to be illegal, and we'll see where that goes. Ryan Walters put together a bill to put Christian chaplains in public schools, but it didn't get signed into law. And he actually tried to get a bill passed to force the 10 Commandments in public schools, like Louisiana's done, but that bill didn't go anywhere either. So all this theocratic stuff that he's trying to do just isn't working out. So recently, he opened up a meeting of the State Board of Education and decided to double down on a way to force Christianity into public schools. I'm going to play you this video. It's about a minute long. Just two things. One, notice the pile of books he has next to him. But two, just notice how blatant he is about shoving his religion into public schools.
We're going to make an important announcement today regarding the Bible and the Ten Commandments. The Bible is a necessary historical document to teach our kids about the history of this country, to have a complete understanding of Western civilization, to have an understanding of the basis of our legal system, and is frankly, when we're talking about the Bible, one of the most foundational documents used for the Constitution and the birth of our country. We also find major points in history that refer to the Bible, that reference the Bible. So we will be issuing a memo today that every school district will adhere to, which is that every teacher, every classroom in the state will have a Bible in the classroom and will be teaching from the Bible in the classroom to ensure that this historical understanding is there for every student in the state of Oklahoma in accordance with our academic standards and state law.
So that's horrifying. I mean, needless to say, everything he just said in that video is batshit insane and illegal. But just to cover a couple of the points, the Bible is not historical, even if, like, founding fathers who didn't understand evolution or have, like, toilets believed in it and made references to it. That doesn't make it historical. You definitely don't need the Bible to get that our ancestors just needed hope and they spread stories, and ancient mythology is all about suggesting answers to the unknown. And he said that every teacher will have to teach from the Bible. Like, why every teacher? Does that include math teachers? What about science teachers? PE teachers? Like, how far does that go? Which version of the Bible does he think should be taught to kids? Because even among Christians, there are many who don't accept the King James Version. Is he going to use the Trump Bible? When in their schedules, they're already packed and crammed schedules, are teachers supposed to find time to work the Bible into the classroom? Are they going to get paid for the work they got to do to make that happen? And what if they go the malicious compliance route and say, oh, I got to teach the Bible? All right, well, kids, let's turn to the book of Genesis and talk about why it's all BS. Does that count? Because that sounds like it could open a huge can of worms right there. So it's not just an illegal idea. It's completely thoughtless. It's a waste of kids' time. It's the sort of decision that I fear might make college admissions counselors think twice before admitting a student graduating from an Oklahoma public school. So Walters is so desperate to play the persecution card that he made up that he suggests this theocratic idea. And what's the end game here? I think he knows the state Supreme Court will not allow it and they will strike it down if this becomes a thing. And what's he going to do? He's going to say, well, they're after me. They're persecuting me because I'm Christian. Like, that's the game he's playing. He's going to suggest something awful to promote Christianity. And if it gets struck down, he gets to say they're persecuting me because I'm Christian. And I think he's also banking on the idea that Donald Trump will become president and make him the Secretary of Education because conservative Christians love this guy. I think that's why he's pulling these sorts of stunts. And Ryan Walters is what happens when you put the dumbest guy in your state in charge of public education. The students come last, religious agenda comes first. So he said in that video, I'm going to send a memo out to all these administrators, teachers today. That memo was somehow even more insane than the comments he just made. Let me show you this memo, okay? This went out to Oklahoma superintendents, like all of them. June 27th, he sent this out. Look at some of this stuff. Effective immediately. All Oklahoma schools are required to incorporate the Bible. Like that's in there as the Bible, which includes the 10 Commandments, as an instructional support into the curriculum across specified grade levels, like grade 5 through grade 12. What else does he say? The 10 Commandments. They will be referenced as an appropriate study of history, civilization, ethics, comparative religion, or the like, as well as for their substantial influence on our nation's founders and the foundational principles of our Constitution. Like that, none of that is legit. The 10 Commandments that he's talking about were not foundational for any of that stuff. Later on here, he says, additionally, the State Department of Education may supply teaching materials for the Bible, which suggests government money will be used to promote the Bible. And then look at the last little threats here. Adherence to this mandate is compulsory. And then last sentence, immediate and strict compliance is expected. Like that's dictator shit right there. That's also a way to make sure no good teachers go into the education field in Oklahoma, which I think is also part of his goal. And all of this is unnecessary because the thing is, the Bible can already be used in public schools if a teacher feels it's relevant for like literary analysis or even historical reference if you're doing comparative religion or something like that. What he's doing is forcing his book, all of it apparently, upon teachers even if they don't want it. And he says he's going to use state resources to create materials for them to use. Like the same people who say there's a pride flag in the room so that teacher's a groomer, they're now blatantly saying they want to use the Bible as an indoctrination tool in the classroom. Like the threat is the story. And notice that Walters never says this is what teachers have been asking me for. This is what they're clamoring for. He doesn't say I spoke to educational experts who say this would be a good idea. He doesn't say if we teach the Bible, here's how students work, their grades would improve. He doesn't explain how kids are going to benefit from this. He just says this is what we're doing because he's a wannabe dictator. Like there's no thought going into any of this because Walters and the Republicans who support him and vote for his party, they do not give a shit about public education. They also know young people are leaving organized religion, so they need to force it down their throats in other ways. And they have no ability to look in the mirror and say, like, maybe we're the baddies here. Maybe they're leaving because of all the shit we're doing. Like, to be clear, Ryan Walters' threats were condemned by a lot of groups, some of whom say they will sue if they have to put a stop to this. Because the weird thing is, he sent out that memo, but that doesn't have the weight of a law. It's not really clear what the rules are, what the implementation is going to look like. Also, it's the summer. So, like, school doesn't even open up for at least another month. So, like, what the hell's going on here? How can you say this happens immediately? We're going to use the Bible now. Where? Summer school? No. So, like, nothing's happened yet. No lawsuits have been filed because I think people are trying to figure out, is this guy just bullshitting us? Is he just saying all this, or does this actually carry the weight of the law? So, just to give you some examples here, the Freedom from Religion Foundation said they would think about suing if they had to. Walter's concern should be the fact that Oklahoma ranks 49th in education, says FFRF co-president Dan Barker. Maybe education would improve if Oklahoma's superintendent of education spent his time promoting education instead of religion. Right on. Here's Americans United for Separation of Church and State. This is textbook Christian nationalism. Walters is abusing the power of his public office to impose his religious beliefs on everyone else's children. Not on our watch. AU says we will go to court as well if we have to. So, like, they're all ready to go. There are also some lawmakers in Oklahoma who said this is dumb. Maybe the most interesting thing I saw here is that a spokesperson for the Attorney General even said, yeah, what the hell is he doing? Oklahoma law already explicitly allows Bibles in the classroom and lets teachers use them as in instruction, said a spokesman for State Attorney General Gentner Drummond. Gentner Drummond, by the way, also said that the taxpayer-funded charter school was illegal. He was on the side of church-state separation. So, like, for a Republican attorney general, this guy's not the worst. So even the attorney general's like, yeah, we don't need this memo because teachers can already do this, which is, I think, their way of saying nothing to see here. You can ignore the memo. Whatever he's saying, teachers already have the right to do it. But no one knows if Ryan Walters going even further is a rule. And what's the penalty if you don't do it? Because he didn't say what the penalty would be. And again, like I said, all of this is thoughtless. Ryan Walters didn't put any thought into this because this is a game for him. He doesn't take his job seriously. He doesn't care about kids. He's just a right-wing Christian conservative who was appointed to be like the education head and then got elected to this seat because he had an R next to his name on the ballot. But this is what happens when you elect Republicans. He's not going to stop unless Oklahomans stop rewarding the Republican Party for screwing over their own kids. And if you keep electing Republicans, you're only going to get more irresponsible wingnuts in leadership positions. All right, I'm going to pause there for this story. Let's take some other questions here. The Constitution was not based on the Ten Commandments, that is true, or the Bible, also true. All the rules in the Bible are about what the people can or cannot do. The Constitution is based on what the state can or cannot do. Right on. All of that is accurate. You know more than Ryan Walters does. Is Ryan's position an appointed or elected one? The Superintendent of Public Instruction, which is the position he has now, I believe that is an elected position. But he's only there because he was appointed by Oklahoma's Republican Governor Kevin Stitt to be like the education secretary or something. So he got appointed. He used that platform to make a name for himself by doing shit like this. And then he got elected to do another education thing that gave him more power. But because, again, in Oklahoma, it doesn't matter who you are as long as you have the Republican next to your name on the ballot. So my fear, I said this earlier, my fear is the reason he's doing all this is to make the case for why Donald Trump should make him Secretary of Education. You thought Betsy DeVos was bad? Just wait till this guy's in charge.